Hi, and welcome to LakeView Listens, LakeView Lutheran Church's monthly podcast. Each month, we are here to provide spaces for experiences, ideas, and people that have significant impact on our communities, both large and small. Through these conversations, we hope to inspire, empower, and enlighten you, the listener. If you are new to the podcast, you can check out our first 8 episodes on our YouTube channel or on our Spotify channel. I'm your host, Zachariah Schmidt. I'm on staff at Lakeview Lutheran, and today I'm here for episode 9 of Lakeview Listens with Nanette Tucker. Nanette, thank you so much for being here. I'm very excited to get to talk to you.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So, yes, definitely. So Nanette has been kind of involved with Lakeview for quite some time. Probably about 20 years now is when you first had kind of initial contact with Lakeview. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. And Nanette has a boutique and consignment shop called Marie Wesley that she runs, and has just done some incredible things in the community over the years, and has been, like I said, a big part of the Lakeview community. So we talked briefly yesterday, and you kind of first got involved with Lakeview through the men's shelter in 2005, 2006. And for those of you who don't know a lot about Lakeview's history, the building at 835 West Addison had a basement space that many different groups have utilized over the years, and one of those groups for quite some time was a men's shelter. And so again, Nanette, I think that was your first kind of dealing with Lakeview, and you did some work in the men's shelter. Can you talk a little bit about how you got started working with the men's shelter, kind of what brought you there, and the work that you did there?
Well, I was in social service, worked in other social service agencies, and applied for a job at Northside Housing, and it led me to 835 West Addison in the basement of Lakeview Lutheran Church. It was a shelter for 30 men. What led me there was my mom. My mother was a manic depressive, and so I wanted to do more for the community of individuals that was dually diagnosed with a mental illness and a substance abuse. And I just wanted to give back because I looked at the way that they treated my mother and the system, and the system being with people that have mental illness and a possible substance abuse. They didn't have advocates, so I wanted to be an advocate for people that was experiencing homelessness, and not only that, but experience mental illness and substance abuse. So that's what led me to social service. So I don't think I chose social service. I think social service chose me. So.
Yeah, that must have been incredibly difficult. I know kind of what it is to live with mental illness, and to see people around you struggle with mental illness, and just the very limited resources that are on hand in our country even now. I think we're sort of getting better. It's still kind of a big mess, but yeah, I can imagine growing up with a parent who was struggling that much did have a big impact on your career choice, and we're very glad that kind of led you to Lakeview. Can you talk a bit about your your experiences with the men's shelter, and kind of, I don't know, any memorable guys you came
Um,
across, or anything like that.
many of them was memorable. Only because I used to think of it in terms of they had a past life, and this was just sort of a pit stop in that life, and I wanted to acknowledge that being homeless or being an individual experiencing homelessness, that did not define them, um, and I wanted to connect with who they were. So I met many men that was impactful in my life. Um, I went from Lakeview. I know some of the names, but I can't recall a lot of the names that I met. I just know that I met
Sure.
people that wanted some of the same things that I wanted. It wasn't any different because they were homeless. It was just they were experiencing, you know, experiencing homelessness. And, some of us are one paycheck or two paychecks away from being homeless. So I always kept that in mind, that they were human beings and treated them like they were human
Mm.
beings. We had a work program through Northside Housing. So I became one of the managers of that at some point. And so I would put guys on the schedule, and they maybe made $30 a week or something, but that was very impactful for them in their lives at that particular time, because, even if they just wanted to get a bag of chips and a pop, it was something that they would be able to do and go in their own pockets and do that. So those things
Mm.
were memorable to me, to give people their dignity. And $30 is not a lot to give somebody their dignity. So it was it was amazing. It was an amazing place to me. Everybody don't
Mm.
think of it in terms of that. You pass homeless individuals on the street and they're invisible, but to me they're not. They're human beings.
Sure. Yeah.
And I
A couple of things that you said. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, it is really staggering, the number of people who do live paycheck to paycheck in this country,
Mhm.
and that are just a paycheck away from homelessness. Um, and I think it's what you said about this just being kind of a stopping point in their life's journey, was really great too. Just in that we try to see these individuals as fully human, and oftentimes in our country we tend to kind of look the other way and not really think about, okay, each of these persons who is experiencing homelessness has really an entire life story that we know nothing about, that they're
Absolutely.
often really incredible. I mean, I remember, growing up in at Lakeview Lutheran Church, and getting to know a lot of the guys that came through those doors, and a lot of those guys were, um, just became fixtures in the Lakeview community, and just brought so much to that community and to that building and to that congregation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it was many of them that actually went to the church. Some of them that worked for the church and cleaned for Lila, and Lila became, um, I guess, a mentor, a friend, for some of the men that were there. And she was a positive fixture in that community. When they felt like things was not going right at the shelter, they would always reach out to Lila. Um,
Hmm.
and she did things straight, definitely. She would come to one of us and talk to us on their behalf. It was always that type of relationship. Just the thing was that the individual or the guy, that was the most important thing for Lila. And for myself, and
Mm-hmm.
I can't say everyone thinks like that because they're the main focus, I believe. I mean, I'm working there to help them. I'm not there to help me. I'm there to help them. Is what I was there
Mm-hmm.
for.
Sure. And I think just to have, not obviously, I haven't experienced homelessness before, but just thinking about, I've, I've read a couple of studies about just the loneliness that we experience in America, person to person, and how we're becoming even more isolated from one another, especially over the past several years, and especially since COVID. But
Absolutely.
just being able to, I'm sure for these guys to have one or two people that they could count on that would give them, not give them, but that they could work for those $30 a week, or have someone to be able to contact and feel like a person.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's profound. You know, we don't think that $30 is a lot, but it's a lot to them. We don't think when people advocate for you because you don't have anybody else to advocate for you. You overlook that. You don't think about it. But there were many guys that um, would just assume just do things because someone told them to do something because they didn't want to make waves, even though might not wanted to do it or they didn't feel comfortable about it. You know, I've always given them a choice and I've always advocated for them because I just believe that again they're human beings and they deserve that. You know, you shouldn't walk over people because they're in a situation. You know, and a lot
Mm-hmm.
of that came from my mother. You know, it just did because I didn't want people to treat my mother that way. So I wanted to advocate for people and treat them again
Mm.
humane and as human beings.
Yeah, and that personal experience too, I think, is really key. And you're a lot of people are not going to not not believe, but a lot of people aren't going to be affected by certain things until they experience it themselves, right? That's just
That
not
is
going
so
to
true.
happen until it's sad that it is that way. That we can't have a little bit more compassion for people who are going through a rough time, but a lot of times it is that personal experience that drives um, that drives the outreach. Um, what where were you after working with the men's shelter? What was your kind of next step?
Um, well, it was well after that shelter, we like Northside Housing had several programs that they did. So from leaving from Lakeview, I worked at I was still at Northside Housing, but I worked in a shelter that had 70 men that were experiencing homelessness. That's where I went from there, and I was a program director at that particular place. You know, I've been doing social service pretty much for over 20 years. And so that's where that led me. It led me to something different and to make a difference in some more lives. And that's really what happened. And like I was talking about, people have a past life. We did so many things because I was in a position to implement things like I had people to donate guitars because I discovered that some of the guys there played guitars. So I got people to donate guitars and the guys would check it out like they would check out a library book and they could play guitars at the place. We had an art program, we had yoga. Um, we just had a variety of things that I would want in my life day to day, that you would want in your life day to day. So I implemented those things. And we didn't get a lot when we first moved to that shelter because we didn't get new furniture. We was just kind of down there. And I would call it that we were in the trenches, me and my staff. So they gave us these old tables because it was a lunch program there. So we started painting on the tables. We had a White Sox, a Cubs table, a Bullwinkle, you name it, a Batman table. The guys the creativity came out, and we beautified that basement and made it into their homes. So we were a family. So it's how I felt about that.
Sure. For what am I trying to say here? When did you start kind of a collaboration with Lila?
It was maybe I want to say maybe 10 years ago. I found myself, I had left Northside Housing and I had started working at other agencies. But Lila reached out to me to do a meet the artists at her resale shop over on Milwaukee. And so I did that, and I would volunteer because I was working on the West Side. I would volunteer once a week with Lila. I would drive up and volunteer at the resale shop with her. And after I did that, I lost my job. And I let Lila know, I think Thursday was my night to volunteer with Lila, and I let her know. And so she offered me 10 hours. 10 hours a week. I believe it was 10 or 15 hours a week to work with her. And so I've been doing a collaboration with Lila probably ever since until this day. And that collaboration with her was working with her in her resale shop. And I was managing individuals that was experiencing homelessness, and she provided employment, like an internship for them, just to put something on their resume so they can move forward with their lives. Is the collaboration that me and Lila did probably over 10 years ago.
Okay. Very cool. Can you talk a little bit about your art as it kind of was back then and kind of through the years?
Well, I sew. I make clothes. And I reimagine things so those things will not end up in landfills. And my purses were a piece of art. I took leather scraps and created purses from them. And that's how I started doing my purses. Those, I took blue jeans apart to make purses for women and men, wallets. That's how it started. But I started sewing when I was at least, I believe I was 8. My uncle gave me my first sewing machine probably when I was 13, my real sewing machine. But my parents would buy me the little toy sewing machines for Christmas because my mother sewed and my grandmother sewed. So I sewed as well. So that's how my art started. And I guess
so really
that
kind of a lifelong passion.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. That's my piece. I can go into my sewing room and I can escape anything doing that. So that's what I do. I still do that today. You know, a part of Marie Wesley is we make one of a kind pieces here. And I figure out, you know, I just recently made a pair of pants out of a blanket, a tapestry blanket, just thinking outside the box of what I want to do and how I want to see things is what I do.
Can you talk a little bit about kind of because you've done a ton of social work and you've been a lifelong artist. Can you talk a little bit about kind of how those two things have interacted over the years and how they kind of continue to interact through Marie Wesley and through your work in your community?
Well, I am I guess you could say a social activist in my community. And I do beautification in the community. I attend there's quite a few organizations in Inglewood that's doing different things. We're doing a nature trail. Grow Greater Inglewood is doing a nature trail like the 606 trail. So I'm in on those meetings to change the trajectory of Inglewood, different social service agencies like Rage, Teamwork Inglewood has did things here in my store to support me, just as well as like the things that Lila has did through her agency to support me. And that is part of that support is bringing individuals that's, again, experiencing homelessness through her program to do internships here at the store, tagging clothes, just kind of helping out where they can help out. But my thing is figuring out what a person's gift is, whatever that might be. I know what my gift is. And some people is music, some is art, the gift of talking, and just figuring out what that gift is and let them live in their gift and serve in their gift. And I think if you serve in your gift, it makes room for your life and it makes room for the things that you want to do. So that's basically what I did. I guess the latter part of my life, that's what I'm doing now. I'm living in my gift. It's not very lucrative at first, but I know it'll, but I'm happier.
Yeah.
So that makes a difference.
Sure.
To be happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though it's lower paying, finding your gift and living in that is worth it for you. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Very much so.
And do you think that kind of extends to the people that you're employing, the interns that you're working with? Do you see some of that same passion in those people?
I do. I have a young lady, and they're from a program through the CPS. I think she's 16. She comes in a couple times a week, but she likes fashion. So she catches on very quickly, and she lives in that passion of what she likes to do. And so you don't really have to stay on people when they work in their passion, because they come in doing what they feel that they need to do. And you may only have to I only have to tell her something one time and she gets it, so that is so refreshing to have that type of person. And even through the employment program with Lila, we did, they came to the store and tagged, fixed we would do the windows. And not only did we do the employment at the stores, we had cleaning contracts that we did, and they would just do well in what they did. And I just believe that if you allow people to work through their gifts, it just will be a better experience. When I was a program director of the shelter of the 70 men, I hardly ever had employees to call off because I was very understanding of what my employees needed, whether it was childcare or car fare or whatever. I would be available to them to help them through those things. So I hardly ever had people to call off. They would always show up, and it got to the point that they would cover for one another. I hardly ever had to do anything about changing schedules or anything. So it was just refreshing to have that type of staff, and just treat your staff, like they matter, not just like they're workhorses or slaves or any of that. They are human beings, and they have, things that they have to deal with, and it made a difference.
Well, yeah, and it sort of goes back to thinking about the men's shelter at Lakeview, and just treating people as humans who deserve respect, and who deserve a second chance, and maybe not even a second chance, but just deserve a chance to let to try to find their gifts, and live in those gifts, for sure.
Yeah, that was definitely Lila's motto. Everything and everyone deserves a second chance. That was redo. That was a little thing that the line that she would say under her store when you came there. That's what it represented. So it was definitely that, giving people second chances.
Have you found anyone that has come through your doors, and as you're working to kind of figure out what their gift is, that you find that they have multiple gifts, that they're wanting to do multiple things, and work in various settings, and because it sounds, from what I'm hearing from you, you've had all these different passions and all of these different projects. So I'm wondering if that's something that you're also cultivating in the people that are working for you, is expanding out from this one gift, and kind of ballooning it out into different areas.
I have met people like that. My brother works here with me. He's not here today. He works that way. He's does construction work. He can pretty much build anything, but he also sews. He makes dresses. He makes women dresses. And it's not too much that he does not do. He decided that he wanted a boat. So he went and bought a boat a few years ago, and learned how to maneuver it, drive it, repair it. So he works in all of his gifts, and other people that have come here, they do social media, they might paint and draw, and do those things. I have other artists that come here and put artwork in. Not only do they do artwork that you hang on a wall, they do artwork on clothing. They work with children. So yes, I've met people that definitely it spreads out from one single gift that you meet them in, and then it transposes into different things that they do. So yeah.
Yeah. What are, if you can talk just a bit about when you first started at Lakeview, or even before up to now, what are some of the things that you've kind of maybe learned or picked up along the way? Can you talk a little bit about how your perspectives or objectives have kind of changed over time?
I guess when I first started in social service, I started as a a house manager, and that just grew into case manager, program director. I think what happened is that you learn how to be present. Be not only present, also be a person of your word when you tell someone that you're going to do something, because so many people in those situations, they get told yes, but people never follow through on those things. So just being present, being a person of my word, changes many things for not only me, but for the people that I'm servicing. Made a difference in my life, and also it made a difference in their life.
Yeah, and I can imagine. Again, I haven't experienced homelessness, so this may be this may be off the mark, but I can imagine that working with a homeless population, and seeing people live, just I imagine in some ways you have to just live, or you're required to just live in the present if you're really worried about where your next meal is coming from, where your next paycheck is coming from, right? You kind of, I'm sure part of it is you're learning how to just stay in the present, like someone who's experiencing homeless is also, just staying in the present.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't think they don't really have a choice but to be in that presence.
Right.
Sometimes we
Right.
have a choice, but I think being able to be in that presence with them and be mindful of it makes me aware of some of the things that they deal with, some of the challenges that they have, and it teaches you to be more compassionate. It teaches you to see people, and not just people that's experiencing homelessness, just to see people, period. I mean, I have individuals. We do a toy drive here. I do a fashion show here in the summertime, and we ask models from all over the city of Chicago to participate. And it's all volunteer stuff that they do, because for me, it's giving back to the community that has given to me. So I have someone to prepare food, and I give food out. I put on a fashion show. Last year we had over 120 people to attend. We closed the street down on 63rd in May. We had over 25 models to participate. And so there are people that come up to me and told me that they have never seen a fashion show in their life. They've always wanted to go. I've even had some of the business owners to tell me that, and that they look forward to us putting on our fashion show in the summertime. So for me, it's about giving back to a community, giving back to people, acknowledging where I am, acknowledging where they are. So when I did the toy drive, I did it for people that, there's some children over here that don't get the toys, or their parents don't have the money to buy it. But I wanted to do a toy drive to give back to some of the people that come to my store, or just people that just pass by. So that's what I do.
Sure. Yeah, it really does sound like there's so many different areas that intersect in your work that you've been talking about, social work, and showing up for people who are experiencing homelessness, and environmentalism, and looking out for our young people. Just sounds like so many of these things kind of come together in the work that you're doing.
Yes, they all come together. It's all in a circle for me. All of it is connected.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think if you connect it, you can do stuff genuinely,
Mm.
without hesitation. You don't really have to think about it if it's genuine, the things that you do.
Hmm.
And the things that I do are genuine for me. It's
Sure.
no the things that I did at the shelter, those were genuine things to do for people that's going through a rough time. Some of the things that I would want someone to do for me or for my family,
Sure.
and
Mm.
people don't do that. Not as much as we should. I'll put it that way.
Right. Yeah, definitely not as much as we should be doing on a daily basis, and
Mhm.
um, I think that's part of where I really liked what you said about being present and just being showing up for each other and showing up um, for people who need it is such a big thing, and there needs to be more of in the world we live in.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I had a lovely time talking with you, and yeah, I very much appreciate you being here. Thanks very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much too. I appreciate it. I appreciate being here. Like I said, I've known Lila for a long time, and she definitely has touched my life. And through her touching my life, I've been able to touch many lives. And
Mm,
that's been one of my things. I always say if I go to sleep and not wake up tomorrow, how many lives have I touched? And how have I made a difference? And I want to do that every day,
mm,
be able to touch lives and make a
mm,
difference. You know,
mm.
it's where I want to be and how I want to be.
Yeah, I think I really try to think about the question that I try to think about um, day to day is the question of kind of like what we leave behind us
Hmm.
when we move on, whether it's moving on from a job or from a relationship or into the into the next life, whatever your
Yes,
beliefs are. But
yes,
just thinking about, yeah, what are the things that you're leaving behind? What are the impacts that you're having on your community, that you're having on the people um, right next to you and the person that's way over there. It's I think it's a really important question to just consider as we're out in the world day to day.
yes. It's important. Or it should be important to you. So
Yeah,
we all have
yeah,
our individual stuff that's important to us, and those are the things that's important to me. So I try to
sure.
live in that,
Yeah.
and do that from day to day. When you talk about leaving things, I have and it just popped in my head. I have a skirt here in my store, um, and it's a skirt that my mother made. Um, and the skirt has artwork on it, and the artwork is from 1975, and that has left the lasting impression not only on my
Mm,
life, but when people come into my store, that is the first thing that they see and notice and want one of those
mm,
skirts. It's just what you leave, the impression that you leave, and that's
mm,
an impression that you left on my life.
yeah,
And so I have to have that here because it's a part of her. And without her, it would not be no me. So
yeah,
leaving impressions
absolutely,
is a beautiful thing. Yeah.
sure.
But you also have
Yeah,
to
beautiful.
one one of my things is today having um, a living legacy. You don't want you want to have a living legacy. What you're doing now, the impact that you make
Mm,
today, and how people see that. So that's what I'm big on today, is leaving a living legacy for people to see. Not when someone passes and say they did this and they did that, but you can say that every day that that person walks and what they're doing. I don't have to leave this earth for you to notice what I've done. You can notice what I do every day. And that's how it is. But I think that going back to LakeView, I think when I met Lila, when I got frustrated, I would go to her office and speak to her. And she leaves that. She leaves a living legacy. She leaves that for all the people that she's touched through her church and through LakeView. She definitely does that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we're very lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. I am very lucky and blessed to have met her in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, yeah, thank you very much for taking the time, and great to talk to you. And yeah, again, just very appreciative of being able to speak with you for a while.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You too. Have a great one.